Now here is a rather curious thing. You wake up one morning and something has changed. Not outside, mind you, but inside. You see through the games, the rat race, the endless pursuit of more, more, more. You understand, perhaps for the first time, that the meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. Yet everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. And then comes the peculiar problem. The bills still arrive, the rent is still due, the bank account still dwindles, and you find yourself in this strange position, spiritually awake but financially broke. What a cosmic joke this is. You look around and see people who are fast asleep, utterly unconscious, chasing money like hungry ghosts, and they seem to be doing rather well. Their bank accounts are full, their houses are large, their cars are new. And here you are, having seen through the illusion, and you cannot pay your electric bill. What is going on? Let me tell you something. This is not an accident. This is not some terrible mistake in the cosmic ordering of things. This is precisely how it must be, at least for a time. And if you understand why, you will stop fighting it, and you will begin to see the extraordinary gift hidden in this struggle. You see, money is a very peculiar thing. It is not wealth at all. It is a way of measuring wealth, a symbol, a token, a kind of social agreement. Real wealth is the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food that nourishes your body, the shelter that keeps you warm. Money is simply the bookkeeping. But we have become so enchanted with the bookkeeping that we have forgotten what it was supposed to represent. Think about it. Here is a man with $1 million in the bank. He sits in his office worrying about the stock market, checking his accounts, calculating his net worth. He has forgotten to taste his coffee. He has forgotten to feel the sun on his skin. He has forgotten that he is breathing. Ha ha ha. Is this man wealthy? Or is he so busy counting his tokens that he has lost touch with the actual treasure? When you awaken spiritually, something very interesting happens. You stop being hypnotized by the symbols. You stop mistaking the menu for the meal. The recipe is not the dinner. The map is not the territory. And suddenly, money loses its grip on you. It stops being the most important thing. It stops being the goal of your life. This is wonderful. This is liberation. But it creates a practical problem because the world around you has not woken up. The landlord still wants his rent in dollars, not in enlightenment. The grocer will not accept spiritual wisdom in exchange for bread. And so you find yourself caught between two worlds, awake in a sleeping world, trying to live by one set of values while surrounded by another. Now, let me tell you why this happens to nearly everyone who begins to wake up. The first reason is very simple. When you awaken, you lose your motivation for the game. You see, most people work not because they love the work, but because they are afraid. Afraid of being poor, afraid of being judged, afraid of being left behind in the great race. Fear is the fuel that drives the economic machine. But when you wake up, the fear begins to dissolve. You realize that you came into this world with nothing, and you will leave with nothing. You understand that the purpose of life is not to arrive at death safely with a well-preserved bank account, but to skid in sideways, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, laughing all the way. The terror of poverty loses its teeth. And without that fear driving you, you naturally slow down. You stop clawing your way to the top. You stop sacrificing your present for some imaginary secure future. This is beautiful. This is health. But in a world organized around fear and competition, it means you will probably make less money, at least for a while. The second reason is that awakening has a way of making your old interests fall away. Think about it. Before you woke up, perhaps you were fascinated by climbing the corporate ladder, by impressing your neighbors, by acquiring status symbols. These things gave you energy. They motivated you. They got you out of bed in the morning. But then you see through them. You understand that status is just a game of make-believe, that the corporate ladder leads nowhere in particular. that your neighbors are not paying as much attention to you as you thought. And suddenly, these pursuits feel hollow. They feel like trying to polish plastic cups when you have discovered the mountain spring. You may still go to work, you may still pay your bills, but the fire has gone out of the old ambitions. You are no longer willing to sell your soul for a paycheck. You are no longer willing to spend hours doing work that feels meaningless just to accumulate more tokens. And naturally, this affects your financial situation. Now, here is the third reason, and this one is quite subtle. When you awaken, you become aware of how the money system actually works. And this awareness can make you somewhat reluctant to participate fully in it. You see that the whole economic game is based on fear, on scarcity, on the illusion that there is not enough to go around. You see how it turns people into competitors, into enemies, how it makes them forget their basic humanity. You understand that the person with the most money is not necessarily the most successful human being. In fact, you begin to suspect that the pursuit of wealth often creates a kind of poverty of spirit, a narrowing of consciousness, a loss of the very things that make life worth living. And so you hesitate, you hold back. You do not throw yourself completely into the game because you have seen the cost of winning. This is not laziness, this is wisdom, but it means you will probably not get rich, at least not in the conventional sense. Let me tell you a story. There was once a fisherman who lived by the sea. Every day he would go out in his small boat, catch enough fish to feed his family, and sell a few at the market. Then he would come home, have lunch with his wife, take a nap in the afternoon, play with his children in the evening, and spend the night making music with his friends. One day a wealthy businessman came to visit. He saw the fisherman resting in the afternoon and said, "Why are you not out fishing? You could catch more fish." "Why would I want to catch more fish?" the fisherman asked. "Well, if you caught more fish, you could sell them and make more money. And then what would I do with the money? You could buy a bigger boat," the businessman explained. "With a bigger boat, you could catch even more fish. Eventually, you could buy several boats, hire other people to fish for you, and become very wealthy." "And then what?" the fisherman asked. "Then you could retire and spend your days resting in the afternoon, playing with your children, and making music with your friends in the evening." The fisherman smiled. "But that is what I am doing now." Do you see? The fisherman had not failed to understand how to make money. He had simply seen through the illusion that making money was the point. He's already living the life that the businessman would spend years trying to earn. He was already wealthy in the only way that matters. When you wake up spiritually, you become more like the fisherman. You realize that the goal everyone is chasing is already available right now. The peace they hope to buy with retirement savings is available in this breath. The security they think money will provide is already here in the simple fact of being alive. The freedom they imagine wealth will bring is already present when you stop being enslaved by the need for more. But here is what happens next. Once you see this, once you really understand it, you face a choice. Do you continue to play the money game with full knowledge that it is just a game? Or do you drop out entirely? And this is where many awakened people get stuck. They think the answer is to reject money altogether, to become penniless wanderers. But this is just another trap. This is the ego in spiritual clothing. True awakening is not about rejecting money any more than it is about chasing it. It is about seeing money for what it actually is, a useful instrument, nothing more, nothing less. When you are truly awake, you can use money without being used by it. You can play the game without being played by the game. The question is not whether you should have money or not have money. The question is whether money has you. Can you hold it lightly? Can you use it when you need it and let it go when you do not? Can you make it without losing your soul and spend it without losing your freedom? This is the art. This is the dance. And it takes time to learn. This is why so many people who wake up go through a period of financial difficulty. They are learning to dance a new dance. They are discovering how to live in the world, but not be of it. They are finding out how to support themselves without selling themselves. And during this learning period, there will be struggles. The old ways of making money do not work anymore because they required you to be asleep, to be driven by fear, to be motivated by greed. But the new ways have not yet revealed themselves. You are in the gap, the space between the old life and the new. And in this space there is often very little money. But listen carefully. This gap is sacred. This struggle is holy. You are not being punished. You are being transformed. The universe is not withholding abundance from you. It is teaching you a new relationship with abundance. Think of it this way. A snake must shed its old skin in order to grow. During the shedding process, it is vulnerable. Its old protection is falling away, and the new skin is not yet hardened. But if the snake tried to hold on to its old skin out of fear, it would die. It must go through the vulnerable period in order to grow into something larger. This is what is happening to you. Your old relationship with money, your old way of surviving in the world, it is falling away. And yes, it is uncomfortable. Yes, it is frightening. But if you try to cling to the old ways, if you try to go back to sleep just to feel financially secure, you will suffocate. You cannot unknow what you know. You cannot unsee what you have seen. The only way through is forward. The only way out is through. And on the other side of this difficulty, there is a new way of being in the world, a way that is both spiritually awake and financially functional, a way that allows you to have enough without needing to have everything, a way that allows you to work without making work your identity, a way that allows you to use money as a means without making it the end. But you have to trust the process. You have to have faith that the universe is not going to let you starve. After all, the birds do not have bank accounts, and yet they are fed. The flowers do not worry about their net worth, and yet they are clothed in beauty. If nature takes care of every sparrow, every blade of grass, will it not take care of you? This does not mean you sit back and do nothing. It does not mean you become irresponsible. It means you act from a different place. You act from love rather than fear. You work because the work is there to be done, not because you are trying to prove your worth. You earn money because money is useful, not because money is everything. And here is what I have observed. When people make this change, when they truly let go of the fear and start living from a place of trust, money often begins to flow more easily. Not always, not immediately, but eventually. Because when you are not grasping at money, when you are not strangling every opportunity with desperation, you become more creative. You become more relaxed. You become more attractive to work with, more pleasant to do business with, more open to possibilities. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. When you stop thrashing about trying to force financial success, when you stop panicking about every bill, when you simply allow yourself to be present with what is, something shifts. The water begins to clear, solutions appear, opportunities arise. Not because you are trying to make them happen, but because you have stopped blocking them with your anxiety. But let me be very clear about something. This does not mean you will become wealthy in the conventional sense. You may never have $1 million in the bank. You may never own a large house or a fancy car, and that is perfectly fine, because you will have something far more valuable. You will have your life back. You will have your time. You will have your peace. You will have yourself. The spiritually awake person eventually discovers that there are two kinds of poverty. There is the poverty of not having enough money, which is temporary and can be solved. And there is the poverty of selling your soul for money, which is permanent and can destroy you. Better to be broke for a season than to be rich and dead inside forever. And so here you are, spiritually awake and financially struggling. What do? First, you stop fighting it. You stop seeing your financial difficulty as evidence that something is wrong with you, or that God has abandoned you, or that you have failed. You see it for what it is, a transition period, a time of learning, a sacred passage from one way of being to another. Second, you do what you can do. You find work that does not violate your soul. You pay your bills as best you can. You live simply. You ask for help when you need it. There is no shame in this. The universe takes care of itself through people helping each other. Allow yourself to be helped. Third, you trust. You trust that you are exactly where you need to be. You trust that this difficulty has something to teach you. You trust that the same intelligence that grew your body from a single cell, that beats your heart without your effort, that breathes you while you sleep, this intelligence is not going to abandon you now. You are held. You are supported. You are loved. Not by money, but by the source of all things. And finally, you remember what you have already learned. The meaning of life is not in having, or achieving, or accumulating. The meaning of life is in the living itself, in the breathing, in the seeing, in the tasting. You are already rich beyond measure if you would only stop long enough to notice. You have eyes that can see a sunset. You have ears that can hear music. You have a body that can feel the warmth of the sun. You have a mind that can know wonder. You have a heart that can feel love. These are the real treasures. These are what matter, and they cannot be bought or sold. So yes, you may be broke, but you are awake. And that awakening is worth more than all the money in all the banks in all the world. Because money can buy you many things, but it cannot buy you consciousness. It cannot buy you freedom. It cannot buy you the peace of knowing who you really are. You are not a person who has or does not have money. You are the awareness in which having and not having appear and disappear like clouds in the sky. The clouds come and go, but the sky remains. You are the sky, and the sky is never poor, never lacking, never in need. This does not pay the rent, I know, but it changes everything about how you relate to the rent. It means you can face financial difficulty without losing yourself. It means you can be broke without being broken. It means you can struggle without despair, because you know that your worth is not measured in dollars, and your life is not defined by your bank balance. The spiritually awake are often financially struggling not because they are being punished, but because they are learning something the sleeping world has forgotten. They are learning that life is not about money. They are learning that the real wealth is consciousness itself. They are learning that you can live richly on very little if you are awake enough to see the abundance that is already here. This learning takes time. This learning costs something. Sometimes what it costs is money. But what you gain in return is invaluable. You gain your soul. You gain your freedom. You gain the ability to live in this world without being consumed by it. You gain the wisdom to use money without being used by it. And eventually, in ways you cannot predict and according to a timeline you cannot control, the financial situation often begins to improve. Not because you go back to sleep and start chasing money again, but because you have learned to be awake and functional at the same time. You have learned to meet the practical demands of life without forgetting the spiritual truth of life. But even if the money never comes, even if you live your whole life with very little, you will still be wealthier than those who have everything but know nothing, because you know who you are. You know what matters. You know that you are the universe, looking at itself through these particular eyes, breathing itself through these particular lungs, experiencing itself through this particular life. And that, my friends, is the real gold. Everything else is just paper. So if you are spiritually awake and financially struggling, take heart, you are not doing it wrong. You are going through what must be gone through. Trust the process. Do what you can. And remember always that the one who is struggling is not who you really are. The real you, the awareness that watches all of this, cannot be touched by poverty or wealth. It simply is, and it is enough. The meaning of life is just to be alive. Not to be rich, not to be successful, not to prove anything or achieve anything or accumulate anything. Just to be alive, to breathe, to see, to feel, to know. And this you are already doing. This you have always been doing. This you cannot fail to do. So play the game of money if you